call shortly.
Hi, excuse me.
Yeah?
Hi, I'm sitting there.
No, absolutely not. There's no way you're sitting next to me.
But
That's just my baby dog. That's just my.
Like, how many people are fighting over here? There's like 50 people.
I love when families
That's
and
like
friends get together and have a good
Starman.
time.
Mummies?
that's what I see.
Excuse me, miss? Do you mind? You can't blame me for not wanting to sit next to her. I'm not trying to get suffocated. Look, she needs her own row, not just a seat. Let her sit there.
Unfortunately, we do have a full flight today, and there are no available seats, so you'll just have to move so she can sit.
I also don't mind taking the aisle if you want, so I don't bother you in case
You're already bothering me. I'm not giving you my seat, too. Ma'am. I was perfectly happy listening to my music, reading my magazine, and you ruined it. Sorry about that. Let me know if you need anything else.
Give me this ball.
maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I'm Janice.
I don't care what your name is. Just leave me alone.
Yay!
I'm stressed enough as it is.
You personally?
Why? Do you not like flying?
It's not when I'm getting squished to death by the person next to me. Of course. Thank you.
If it's not flying, why are you stressed?
If you have to know. I have an interview with the California head of retail at Ulta, Mark Rober. He's a very important person, so I'm trying to relax beforehand. And you're not helping.
Sorry, folks. We're waiting on just one more passenger. Just a couple more minutes before we take off.
Can you stop crunching?
Oh, I didn't realize you could hear me.
With how loud you're crunching, I'm pretty sure the pilot can hear you. Why are you even eating chips anyway?
Because I'm hungry.
Listen, take my advice. Try a protein bar like me. Maybe if you did, you wouldn't look like that.
You know, you really shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Whatever, I just don't want to hear any more crunching.
Shoot. Excuse me? May I get my portable charger from my bag?
Absolutely. The fasten seatbelt sign isn't on yet.
Thanks.
What now?
Sorry. I need to get my bag to get a phone charger. Do you mind moving?
Yes, I mind moving. What do you even need your phone for anyway? We're about to take off.
I'm meeting someone, and I need to find out where they are.
Well, that sucks. I'm sure whoever you're meeting isn't that important anyway.
Why would you say that?
I mean, come on. Isn't it obvious? People like you are lazy and don't get anywhere in life. You probably spend all your time sitting on your couch eating potato chips and collecting welfare checks. You think you have the right to relax while living off the tax dollars of hardworking people like me.
Your tax dollars? Didn't you say you were looking for a job?
That doesn't mean I'm unemployed. I'm a junior manager at a food chain, but unlike you, I'm trying to get ahead in life. This interview would be huge for me. If I got this job, I'd be a senior manager. Get off me!
I am as far away as I can be from you.
Well, then maybe next time you should buy 2 seats instead of 1 so you don't have to inconvenience the person next to you. It only stings because you know what I said is true.
No. It's not true. You don't know anything about me or what I go through. You don't even know what I went through before getting on this plane.
What are you talking about? You seemed fine.
I might have been smiling on the outside, but I have been dying on the inside. You see, I've been this size for as long as I can remember, but that doesn't stop people from judging me. Everywhere I go, they stare and they make mean comments. That's why I avoid going to public places. While the staring and the comments hurt, the hardest thing of all is when people don't want to sit next to me. They treat me as if I have some infectious disease. That's why today, as I got on this flight, I prayed to have an empty seat next to me. Just so I didn't have to go through the judgment and the humiliation. But of course, my worst fear came true. So you see, you have no idea what I go through or how much I struggle. That's why I don't need your judgment too.
Oh my gosh. Actually expect me to feel bad for you? Well, newsflash, I don't. The biggest struggle you have is probably getting your pants on in the morning. Now, for the rest of the flight, I don't care if you need your phone charger. I don't care if you need to use the restroom. I don't care if the plane is on fire. Just leave me alone.
Flight attendants, please return to your seat. Our last passenger is boarded.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Janice, there you are. Well, thought I was gonna miss the flight. I did text you though. Did you get it?
No, because my phone died.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I think I'm sitting. Yeah, I'm sitting right there. Hey, MTC, you want to join me?
Oh my gosh, yes, please do that so I can finally breathe.
That would be great.
Well, I can't believe I almost didn't make it. Come on.
By the way, who did you say the interview was with?
You're gonna like this one.
Mm-hmm.
She had a great resume and she was highly recommended. I think she's gonna be fine. What is her name? Rachel. It is Rachel.
Then you must be Rachel. This is Mark Rober, the head of California retail at Ulta. I believe this is who you're interviewing with.
You're Rachel Dobson.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah. What a small world. I was just telling your assistant how excited I am for this opportunity.
Assistant? Janice, you didn't tell her? She's the head of U.S. retail. And she's my boss. Since this was a senior manager level interview, she was nice enough to join me.
So, unlike what you said about me earlier, I actually do have a job. And a pretty good one at that. So, no, I don't just sit around my couch all day eating potato chips and collecting welfare checks.
Oh my gosh, you didn't think I was serious about that, did you? I was just kidding. I would love to have you sit next to me. You can even have the aisle seat if you want. And didn't you say you need a phone charger? I think I have one in my bag.
Save it. No need to be fake nice. I know everything I need to know about you. And we won't be hiring her.
Agreed.
Instead, we can get lunch at that time. Because all I like to do is eat. Maybe next time, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Sorry, miss.
Yes.
Is it okay if I get off this flight? I no longer need to go to Oakland.
I'm sorry, but the doors have already been closed. And from what I hear, flights back to LA are getting canceled due to the weather. So you may be stuck a while. Now, if you'll please take a seat.
This is unbelievable!
Let's watch Space Run. Let's watch Wham Bam Dash Cam.
By advertising on
You watch
YouTube,
this,
I grow my
Jeff?
business by reaching my most important customers, people like Allison.
Rollovers, rear ends, red light runners, and runaway trailers? We've got 20 of your dashcam stories in this episode, and stay until the end for details about the live premiere of the first episode of Wham Bam Security Cam. Today's first submitter was following a tractor which had slowed traffic from 55 to 25 miles per hour. The driver of an SUV in line behind him didn't like that and decided to floor it past everybody, ignoring the double yellow lines. He also ignored the turn signal of a pickup truck that was turning left, which clipped the SUV and sent it tumbling down the road. Our submitter stopped to render aid, but he told us there were no obvious injuries. When first responders arrived, he gave a statement to the police. I'm not sure where the SUV driver was headed so quickly, but I'm guessing they arrived later than they would have if they'd been a little more patient. This submitter was headed to his brother's house. Another driver turned across 4 lanes of traffic and into the path of our submitter's Jeep, causing $22,000 in damage. The Jeep had to be towed away, but the other vehicle was still drivable. Amazingly, the other driver blamed our submitter for the fact that she'd pulled in front of him while he was moving at 55 miles per hour. Unsurprisingly, the police found her at fault, and her insurance provider paid for repairs and a rental. Michael was on his commute to work when he watched another driver lose control on black ice. The black car swerved several times before ending up in the ditch. Michael told us he kept going to work when he saw the driver behind him stopping to help. Alex was headed home from church when traffic on the interstate slowed down. Unfortunately, the driver of a Chevy Equinox wasn't paying attention and rear-ended a silver Mercedes.
Let's watch the Wham Bam Tesla cam.
Brandon was driving his Model Y in Thornhill, Ontario, when there was a big sudden explosion in front of him. A tree fell over some power lines, causing a transformer to explode while tree branches fell all over the road. Brandon says this caused a huge power outage in the neighborhood. It looks to me like his Tesla got juiced with 1.21 gigawatts, and he's in for a heck of a ride. Diego was driving his Model 3 on Highway 281 in San Antonio, Texas, when a blue Audi with a smashed front end rolled onto the highway from an access road. Diego says it scared the heck out of him, and that he had to pump the brakes pretty hard. The Audi driver just kept on going like nothing had happened, with engine smoking and tires screeching. Diego reviewed his Tesla cam footage and noticed that the Audi had already... Since the Audi driver was clearly responsible for the accident, he immediately agreed to pay for the damage once he'd shown them his Sentry Mode video. Randy and his girlfriend had stopped at a grocery store. While sitting in their Model X and wrapping up a phone call, a store employee came out to collect shopping carts. Just take a look at these carts. They even have flames. I bet these are the cart demon's very favorite weapons of destruction. Sure enough, when the employee grabbed a cart that had been sitting near the Tesla, she swung it into the passenger side Falcon Wing door. They immediately jumped out and confronted her. She claimed that she hadn't even hit the car, even though they'd witnessed it and had video to prove it. They spoke with a manager and showed them the video and scratches the cart had left on the door panel. The manager told them it would be taken care of, but it would have to go through their corporate office. Randy and his girlfriend are still waiting to hear back from them. This submitter was approaching a toll booth. When he noticed the leftmost lane was filling up, he pulled in behind the trucks. For a moment, he couldn't decide which truck to follow. At the same time, a black van sped past him. The submitter told us he thinks the van driver did this to skip the line. This offended the submitter, and he determined not to let the other driver get in front of him after they'd gotten past the booth. The submitter could hear the other driver accelerating at the green light, so he hit the juice pedal to get in front of him. That's when one of the trucks unexpectedly changed lanes, forcing the submitter to slam on the brakes as hard as possible to avoid an accident. This surprised him because, according to him, in Denmark, semi-trucks aren't allowed in that lane. Fortunately, the Tesla's brakes did their job and an accident was avoided. Daniel was driving his Model X on a highway in Nashville, Tennessee, when he approached a vehicle that was swerving in and out of its lane. Daniel immediately feared this might be a drunk driver. He was nervous to pass them with the car swerving side to side, but he also felt like he needed to do something. Daniel flashed his headlights in an attempt to get the driver's attention, but they reacted by increasing their speed. Daniel saw emergency lights up ahead, so he backed off, hoping that the police would stop the driver. Unfortunately, it wasn't a police roadblock, but instead a parked truck trailer that had already been involved in an accident. The unstable driver crashed right into the trailer, clipping the canopy off the pickup truck. Daniel didn't stop since first responders were already at the scene. He searched for news about the incident, but he couldn't find any mention of it. In our experience, that usually means everyone was okay. Malik's car was charging when a guy came out of the casino. He was about to leave when he noticed the Tesla charging and unplugged it. Then he used his car door to damage the Tesla before driving off. What a nice guy. Malik wants to press charges, but he wasn't able to get the guy's license plate on video. The police showed up and confirmed the guy did this with intent, so Malik definitely has a case. If you recognize this upstanding citizen, please send us an email and we'll forward the info to Malik. Victor was driving his Model 3 in Novato, California, when a Ford Focus in front of him swerved out of its lane. The Ford driver almost hit a truck before spinning out and finally coming to a stop in front of Victor. Victor had to slam on his brakes to avoid a collision. Then the driver just lit up a cigarette while still sitting in front of Victor. The cameras didn't catch this, but Victor says that's why the car sat for a while after spinning out. Victor thinks the reason the driver almost caused a major accident was because he was distracted while trying to light his cigarette. Rami was driving his Model 3 down a main road when someone floored it out of their driveway in reverse. They T-boned the passenger side of the Tesla with their rear end. The offending driver then sped off, making this a hit and run, a felony in the state of Rhode Island. Rami called the police, who promptly went to the house where the car had been parked. The guy living there said it had been his ex-girlfriend driving the car. The cops called and ordered her to return to the scene of the accident. When she arrived, she was yelling and screaming at the cops, claiming she wasn't the one who'd hit Rami's car. Rami told her his Tesla had recorded the entire incident, including when she'd driven off. She ended up getting arrested for obstructing a police investigation, resisting arrest, and, of course, felony hit and run. After reviewing the police report and the Tesla cam footage, her insurance provider accepted 100% liability for the accident and agreed to pay for the damage. The total repair cost came to $12,000 US. Peter was driving his Model 3 in the carpool lane at the speed limit when the rider of a BMW R90 passed him dangerously close. The rider proceeded to tell him he thinks Teslas are #1 before doing some strange sort of chicken dance. We get a lot of flack for misidentifying vehicles, but Wham Bam actually races these bikes. BMW released this bike as a tribute model after building motorcycles for 90 years, hence the name R90. It was designed by a Swedish guy, and it was BMW's last air-cooled boxer twin-engine bike. It's just a shame it isn't electric. Peter actually sent us another video, and this one is pretty disturbing. He found himself behind a black Model 3 sporting a Honda emblem. What's going on? Is this some sort of attempt to repel Honda bumps? Tyler was on his way home from the gym in Sacramento when he spotted a large plume of smoke in the distance. He had a little free time, so he decided to check it out. He pulled onto a dirt road where other drivers had also stopped to watch the huge blaze. It was a lot bigger than he'd originally thought. Tyler heard a few small explosions in the distance and assumed they were tires blowing up. The news reported that it was a brush fire that had spread into a junkyard where numerous vehicles had ignited. Tyler hopes everyone was safe, and he praises the firefighters and anyone else involved for their service in extinguishing the inferno. This helicopter action is just insane. Tyler asked us to give a shout out to his friends Ronald and Samantha, who love watching Wham Bam videos with him. Hey there, everybody. Matthew was driving his Model Y in Galveston, Texas, when an SUV exiting a parking lot didn't check for oncoming traffic and hit a Jeep. Alex was driving his Model 3 on an Australian highway when the drivers of a BMW and a Ford pickup truck were having some sort of argument in front of him. Both vehicles stopped in the left lane, and the driver of the Ford decided to get out to abuse the BMW driver. The Tesla Model 3, which had autopilot engaged at the time, dodged the driver's open door. It must have checked the other lane before avoiding the hazard. Alex pulled over to check for damage, but there wasn't any. He also says he can see why Teslas have such a great safety rating. James and Julian had parked their Model 3 on the street in Brooklyn. They hadn't been away for 2 minutes before they got a Sentry Mode notification that the alarm had been triggered. After rushing back to the car, they found that it and another vehicle in front of theirs had been hit. A car had veered left for no apparent reason and hit the Tesla before bumping into the other car. Fortunately, the plate number was visible on the Sentry Mode video, and a police report was filed right away. They also filed an insurance claim, which is still pending.
I still think I can sell the car myself. This is going to take all day.
also filed an insurance claim, which is still pending. Will was driving his Chrysler 300 in San Jose, California, when he noticed a gold Toyota pickup cutting people off on the highway. The Toyota driver appeared to target the red Model 3 in front of Will. They sped to get in front of it before brake-checking the Tesla. Will had to swerve left onto the shoulder to avoid crashing into the Tesla. Then he picked up speed and cut off the pickup himself. Payback. As always, don't forget to watch Dashcam Stories for more action like this. A new episode is uploaded every Friday on the Wham Bam Dashcam channel. Calvin was driving home to Los Angeles from a weekend trip in Las Vegas when the driver of a lowered Chevy Silverado locked up their brakes. They had to swerve onto the gravel shoulder to avoid rear-ending a GMC Terrain. Calvin sent us one more video. This time he was parked in front of a liquor store in Los Angeles, and he confesses it wasn't the best idea to park there. He was about to leave when a drunk man stole some beer from the store before stumbling away, nearly walking into a Lexus RX pulling into park. The store owner ran after the guy, but he eventually gave up. Whatever was stolen probably wasn't very valuable. Calvin called the police and sent them a copy of his Tesla Cam video. Dr. Scott was charging his Model 3 using the destination charger at his work in Las Vegas. Suddenly, he got an alert on his phone that charging had stopped. A girl had walked up to his car and tried to open the doors before unplugging his car. The Sentry Mode video showed security arriving and escorting her away. A moment later, Dr. Scott got another notification. Charging had started again. The girl had escaped security, returned to his car, and plugged it back in. Yeah, that's one evil-looking Honda right there. Roll the jingle.
Jump in! Honda bumped!
Alex was patiently waiting in the in-and-out drive-thru line when a Honda bumped right into him.
Honda bumped!
Ali was driving his Model 3 on the highway in Melbourne, Australia. Traffic suddenly slowed down, and a Toyota one car behind them didn't notice in time and quickly switched lanes. The car behind the Toyota wasn't as fast and rear-ended the car directly behind Ali. Isaac was driving on the highway. While he was passing a car towing a trailer, the tow bar broke. Luckily, and incredibly, the trailer didn't hit any other vehicles. We know that lane splitting with motorcycles is legal in California, but we never thought this also applied to cars. The driver of a Mercedes G-Wagon decided to go rogue and drive between two lanes to cut through traffic. James was driving his Model 3 eastbound on the Trans-Canada Highway when he witnessed one of the most dangerous overtakes we've ever seen on this channel. An impatient trucker didn't have enough room to pass a travel trailer and almost caused a head-on collision with another truck. Wow, that was just beyond dumb. Speaking of dumb moves, Ben witnessed this one while driving in Hampshire, England. A tractor pulled out onto the road, nearly hitting the car in front of Ben. Ben says he just overtook the tractor since he didn't know what he was doing. Speaking of people who have no idea what they're doing, over 75% of our viewers aren't subscribed. What are you doing? Don't be dumb, subscribe.
Guys, I know you think all those puzzle ads are fake, but today I finally found the game.
Craig was driving his Model 3 Performance in Naperville, Illinois. Watch what happened when he was just 2 blocks from home. Craig estimates they were both going at least 45 miles per hour when this happened. The driver of a Honda Accord ran a red light and T-boned him on the driver's side. Craig's Tesla spun completely around and took out a traffic light before finally coming to rest. Craig tried the door openers on both sides and they didn't work. Since he rarely uses the manual door openers, it didn't cross his mind to try them in the heat of the moment. Instead, he took immediate action and exited headfirst through his side window, which had been shattered in the accident. After exiting his car without injury, Craig heard the other driver shouting that he was injured and that Craig had run a red light and destroyed his new car. As Craig approached him to assess his condition, the other driver kept shouting, "Get away from me, I'm hurt." At that point, Craig honestly wasn't sure if he was actually in the wrong and had caused the accident, so he backed off. He calmly stated that he thought the other driver had run the red light and that his car had captured the event on video. When the police arrived, witnesses at the bus stop told them that the Honda driver had run the red light, so they decided they didn't need to watch the Tesla cam footage. Both cars were deemed a total loss. Even though the other driver was found to be at fault, Craig still had to navigate a lengthy insurance process. His insurance provider, State Farm, said that no vehicle add-ons would be considered when determining the value of his car. That means they wouldn't cover the $5,000 he paid for full self-driving. In the end, Craig had to put down another $10,000 from his own pocket to replace his Tesla with a similar car. Renee was driving her Model 3 when another driver veered into her lane. She swerved into the other lane to avoid the wrong-way driver, but the driver behind her had no chance to escape and was hit head-on. Renee pulled over and ran to make sure everyone was okay. Luckily, everyone walked away from the accident, but the car that was hit was totaled and the other driver's car ended up in the ditch. The driver who'd caused the accident said that he'd gotten distracted while reaching for something. Renee stayed at the scene until first responders arrived. She showed the Tesla cam footage to the police and was later called as a witness. Nikita was waiting in a McDonald's drive-thru line with her sister. A ute, or pickup truck, towing a trailer had parked across several spaces to avoid blocking traffic. The owner of the ute was inside McDonald's getting lunch when a man in a silver Volkswagen Golf pulled up alongside the truck. Nikita and her sister heard a loud noise and wondered what it was. As they looked in the direction of the noise, they saw a man going to town on the car. First, he threw something at the ute before opening his trunk and pulling out a hammer. He smashed the ute's window, then calmly walked back to his car, returned the hammer to his trunk, and drove away. Nikita saved the footage and gave it to the owner of the ute. She also called the police and gave a detailed description of the man and of the car he was driving, including the license plate number. Dudley was driving his Model Y to work in Pataskala, Ohio, when he heard a loud bang. A moment later, he saw parts flying off the car in front of him. At first, he thought the car had hit a deer or something else in the road. He soon realized the front left tire had blown out, which had essentially demolished the entire front end of the car. Luckily, the driver was able to safely pull over to the side of the road, and all the other drivers were able to avoid the debris. Sean was driving his Model Y behind a Model 3 in Manhattan. Suddenly, the driver of the Model 3 slowed down and pulled over. Sean had moved over to pass him when the driver started to make an illegal U-turn. Luckily, Sean managed to stop just in time to avoid an accident. We're guessing both of them were thinking, this is definitely going to end up on Wham Bam Tesla Cam. David had parked his Model 3 overnight in a public garage in San Luis Obispo, California. When he woke up the next morning, he almost fainted when he saw he had 33 Sentry Mode notifications. Take a look at what he found. A woman walked up to his car and tried to open the door. When she found it was locked, she tried to pry the door handle open with a key. When that didn't work, she proceeded to gently drag the key all over the door before moving on to the window. When she eventually stopped, it looks like she got angry with herself. Changing tactics, she started to dust off the car instead. David isn't sure if she was trying to remove her fingerprints or if she was trying to help him clean his car. Either way, the whole thing was painful to watch. She started polishing the wheels with her hands, then proceeded up and over the glass roof. Next, the camera lens got cleaned up. Then she brought out the big guns. She picked up some sort of fluffy carpet and started using it to polish the car. Every inch of it. Then she changed her mind again and started smacking the Tesla with the carpet. I haven't seen this method over at the Chris Fix YouTube channel, but maybe it's a new trend. David washed his car afterward, but there were still some swirl marks and long scratches. He decided to bring the car to a detailing shop to see if they could buff them out. David says that if he has to park his car overnight, he'll choose a better spot next time. He's just relieved she didn't seriously key the car or damage it any more with a deep cleaning.
Virid is an e-commerce development agency with a
TJ was driving down Olympic Parkway in Chula Vista, California. As he was approaching an intersection, the cars ahead of him started to slow down. That's when he noticed a Volkswagen Tiguan speeding up behind him. The driver cut off a red Audi without even using a turn signal. When he noticed the car in front of his had stopped, the driver tried to avoid hitting it by swerving into the median, but he ended up hitting a light pole instead. TJ stopped to make sure everyone was okay, and the driver and his passengers were fine. TJ says that the driver appeared very upset over the situation. Craig was driving his Model 3 in Brisbane, Australia. Just as he entered an intersection, a ute pulled out in front of him. The truck proceeded to fart out an entire dinosaur, but Craig says he wasn't surprised, as this seems to happen a lot. Let's run the usual poll. Was this a case of intentionally rolling coal, or just a natural side effect of a diesel truck's embarrassingly slow acceleration? Arda had just picked up his kid from daycare and was heading home. He noticed that the car in front of him was driving very slowly, but since he was in no rush, he just kept following behind him. As they approached a roundabout, the driver of the Volkswagen suddenly drove off the road and into a light pole. A couple of cars behind them stopped, so Arda called the police and gave them the location of the accident. Luckily, all his sensors still work, so his full self-driving beta is... He determined that the other driver was Elon's video and said, "Okay, cool, sums it up pretty well." They asked him to forward the video to them for their report. Elon filed an insurance claim, and they determined that the other driver was 100% at fault. It'll take about a month for his car to get fixed, since it needs a new trunk lid and bumper cover. Luckily, all his sensors still work, so his full self-driving beta is still functional. He also wanted to clarify that he was not using FSD or autopilot when the accident occurred, and he was sure to tell both the police and his insurance provider this in a recorded statement so nobody would think this accident had been the Tesla's fault. JD stopped by a corner store on his way home and came out to find that a U-Haul truck had just hit a new Toyota Camry. He didn't think much of it at the time and drove home before realizing that Sentry Mode might have captured the accident. He turned around to head back to the store, and he's glad that he did. The driver of the U-Haul truck had fled the scene, and JD was able to give the Toyota driver a copy of his footage. The police arrived a short time later. Just as the police officer opened his mouth to ask what had happened, the Toyota driver turned to him and said this. As the cop reviewed the video, the driver said this guy's car recorded the whole thing. The cop checked out his Model X and said, "Cool car, man." JD asked the officer if he'd ever heard of the Wham Bam channel, and he said he hadn't. JD told him he'd send him a link because he'd be submitting this clip. So, hey there, Mr. Police Officer. If you're watching this, we really hope you catch the driver of the U-Haul truck. David was pulling into his driveway in Los Angeles, California when he almost hit a cat. David told us his kids Emma and Drew love to watch Wham Bam every week. Thank goodness he didn't hit that cat. Dan was driving his Model S in Denver, Colorado, when a car ahead of him in the next lane crashed into a pickup truck at a red light. Dan isn't sure what car it was, but it was some sort of sports car. We can't figure it out either. Please leave a comment if you know what car this is.
What's the best way to edit my longer videos into TikToks, Reels, and Shorts? Okay, so these subtitles below.
Figure it out either. Please leave a comment if you know what car this is. Tran was driving to pick up his girlfriend from the airport in Norway. The speed limit on this road is 110 kilometers an hour, or about 68 miles per hour, and conditions were wet and dark. He was driving right at the speed limit when the car in front of him suddenly slowed down, so he let off the pedal and let his car slow down too. Then the car completely stopped in the middle of the road. Tran slammed hard on the brakes, but the wet road made his stopping distance longer than he expected. He had to swerve onto the shoulder, or else he would have rear-ended the Nissan Leaf Gen 2. Tran stopped and talked to the driver, and she said the car had stopped by itself and wouldn't move. By the time Tran left 15 minutes later, the Nissan still hadn't gone anywhere. Theo and his family were